Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. Alhamdulillah. Long time no see. MashaAllah.
Yes, brother Ustadz. It's good. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, we're gonna start the session soon.
Inshallah.
Give me 1 minute just to get ready. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu warahmatullah.
Innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina may yahdihillahu fala mudhillalah wa may yudlil fala hadiyalah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma shalli wa sallim wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Amma ba'du. Alhamdulillah, indeed all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him and seek His help and forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from our soul's evils and our wrongdoings. He whom Allah guides, no one can misguide, and he whom he misguides, no one can misguide. I bear witness that there is no God except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, without any partners, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and his final messengers. Amin, amin ya rabbal alamin. My dear respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, alhamdulillah, with the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're able to wake up this morning, and then we're able to perform our sahur, or our early breakfast, and then continue with the Salat al-Fajr together with your family, inshallah. And alhamdulillah as well, we've been blessed, we've been given the opportunity to join in our daily Fajr speech with CIDE New South Wales. And alhamdulillah, today or this morning, we have our Ustadz Ali Abdullah, that's been joining us. And inshallah, for this morning, he will deliver the speech in English, and then with the topic of seeking Allah pleasure from home. So inshallah, I will hand over to Ustadz Ali to start his speech for today. Tafadhal, Ustadz.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد. Verily, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help and support, and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own selves and from our bad deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can misguide, and whomsoever Allah lets go astray, no one can guide. I declare that there is none worthy of being worshipped except Allah alone, and He has no partner. And I declare that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and upon his family and companions, and those who follow him with ihsan until the last day. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah and we praise Allah. We are grateful to Allah for all of His blessings, and especially for making it possible for us to be able to experience Ramadan in this year. Although this year is a unique year that we are experiencing Ramadan, unlike any previous year that we have experienced this blessed month of Ramadan. But nevertheless, we know that Ramadan is a special month, it is a unique month, it is a blessed month, as our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have said, "Ataakum Ramadan shahrun mubarak." Ramadan has come to you, it is a blessed month, shahrun mubarak. So regardless of our current situation, there are still blessings in this month. And I'd like to talk today, this morning, a little bit about how we can try to achieve these blessings. How can we try to gain these blessings? How can we try to reap these blessings during this blessed month of Ramadan, even though many of us have no other choice than to spend much of our time at home. So, inshallah, there are a few various titles for this topic, but it's the same topic. Seeking Allah's pleasure from home, or making the most of Ramadan from home, or reaping the blessings of Ramadan from home are a number of alternative titles for this short talk, inshallah. So, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, this, as I said, this is indeed a very unique month. This is a very unique time. It is an unprecedented time that we have not experienced before. But there are still many ways that we can make the most of this holy month of Ramadan, this special, blessed month of Ramadan, even if we are confined to our home. Now, we are hearing in the news reports that some restrictions are about to be lifted, inshallah. And we hope that that many restrictions will be lifted as soon as possible, but of course, not unless it is indeed safe to do so. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we need to understand a few aspects about Ramadan. Yeah? And as I'm sure that we have all experienced many times before, fasting the month of Ramadan. Now, Ramadan has many experiences. Many people think of Ramadan and they think of certain things. There's a certain atmosphere that people think about. For example, if we were in Indonesia, in any of the main cities such as Jakarta and the like, then surely we would feel the atmosphere of Ramadan. It is alive at night. The masjids are full of people. Even all the shops are trying to sell things, so they're all saying it's all for the name of Ramadan and so on. But there's a big atmosphere, even on television. Everything is Ramadan related, just like how big Christmas is here in Australia. So Ramadan is very big in places such as in Indonesia, for example. But at this time, we are finding that there are some things that we can't do, and some of the things that we can't do are making this atmosphere feel even less special, you could say, in some ways, because we cannot attend the masjids. And that's usually one of the special things about Ramadan. When we think about Ramadan, many people think about what is so special about Ramadan. Some people think about going to the masjids at night and performing the Tarawih prayers in the Jama'ah, because indeed that is one of the unique aspects about Ramadan. Some people might think in Australia, for example, here in Sydney, as we know, for the last few years, the suburb of Lakemba has been open during the night for their night markets. And tens of thousands of people have been attending to eat lots of food and buy lots of food at the night markets in Lakemba, which of course cannot be done this year. So that is another aspect of the atmosphere of Ramadan, which affects us today, that we are not experiencing this year. But then sometimes we need to ask ourselves, we need to come back and ask ourselves, what has the highest priority in Ramadan? How does this coronavirus situation affect us in our holy month of Ramadan? Are we still able to fulfill our requirements? Well, the simple answer is yes, because the first and foremost aspect of Ramadan that all of us as individuals must adhere to is to fast the month of Ramadan, undoubtedly. So although we are in our current situation, inshallah, our fast is not affected. Yeah? Even if we are confined to our homes, as many of us are, then this, inshallah, does not affect the fact if we are at home or if we are at school or if we are at uni or if we are working. The fact that we can still fast doesn't make a difference as to exactly where we are. So fasting is the first and foremost aspect that we have we need to give the first priority to in Ramadan, because this is undoubtedly one of the pillars of Islam, and this is an individual duty that we as individual Muslims all must fulfill. So Ramadan is certainly the foremost act of worship during Ramadan, and it is not affected with our current situation of being at home during this year's Ramadan. Now, the next aspect, which I touched on, is the aspect of praying, our salat. Now, yes, we are unable to perform our salat in the masjids. They might be opening soon, perhaps, and might vary from state to state. But of course, we're keeping up to date with federal and state governments' announcements. But this does not affect the fact that we perform our salat at home. And alhamdulillah, we are now halfway through this month of Ramadan. And inshallah, everyone is familiar with our situation of performing our salat at home. And this, of course, includes the Taraweeh prayers. So Salatul Taraweeh. So the Taraweeh prayers, of course, as we know, are unique to Ramadan. They are special just for the month of Ramadan. But of course, we can perform this in our homes. In fact, there are a number of points that perhaps maybe some of us might not have been aware of, that although we normally are encouraged to perform our salat in the masjid as much as possible, and the Taraweeh prayers, many of our masjids are full during the month of Ramadan every night. Yeah? During the 5 daily prayers, maybe not so because of different working hours, but at night time, usually many of our masjids are full of people performing the Taraweeh prayers in Jama'ah. Now our situation is indeed very different, but of course we can still perform our Taraweeh prayers. However, by doing so, we are performing our Taraweeh prayers at home. We are in fact still following the example of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have performed the Taraweeh prayers in Jama'ah in the masjid for only the first few nights of Ramadan. Yeah. On one night, the Prophet ﷺ came and performed the Taraweeh prayers. The companions in the masjid saw and they thought, gee, what is this new salat the Prophet is doing? And so they came to join him. And then the next night, word had spread and more people came to the masjid. Word had spread that there's a new salat, there's a new prayer the Prophet is doing. Come at nighttime after Isha. So people were coming to the masjid to perform Taraweeh behind the Prophet ﷺ. And then this congregation began to grow each night. And then after a few nights, the Prophet ﷺ did not come out to perform the Taraweeh prayer in the masjid. And the people were curious as to why is the Prophet not coming out. Now we have to remember, where did the Prophet ﷺ live? Where was his house located in respect to the masjid? It was attached to the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ opened the door from his house and stepped into the masjid, directly from his house into the masjid. So his house was attached to the masjid. For any brothers and sisters who have been to Hajj or for Umrah and have visited the Prophet's masjid, Masjid Nabawi, they would see the place where our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is buried. That is the location of what was his house. So even though his house was attached to the masjid, the Prophet ﷺ still did not come out to perform the Taraweeh prayer in the masjid. Now we learn from other hadith, from his wife Aisha and the like, that indeed the Prophet ﷺ did still pray Taraweeh in his home. So in this current situation, we are actually still following the example of our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ by performing Taraweeh in our home, just as the Prophet ﷺ performed Taraweeh in his home. Now, the Prophet ﷺ gave an explanation later as to why he did not come out the previous night to join and to lead the congregation. And his response was, he feared that the people would consider it a compulsory act, a wajib act. So therefore, the Prophet ﷺ did not come out, so that the people understood that Taraweeh is not compulsory, it is not wajib, not like the 5 daily salawat. So although, yes, under normal circumstances, we should make the effort to try to perform Taraweeh in Jama'ah, in congregation, in our masjids, as often as possible, if possible, throughout the whole month of Ramadan. But under our current circumstances, it is not too much of an issue. It is permissible. And in fact, the Prophet ﷺ himself performed most nights of Ramadan by performing Taraweeh in his home. So indeed, this is not a bad act for us to do. It is okay for us to do by performing our Taraweeh at our homes. Now, another aspect related to this is, as we know, usually we have a choice in, for example, in Sydney or in Brisbane or in Melbourne, we know that we have quite a variety of masjids to choose from. And sometimes we can choose. Some people choose the masjid that has an imam with the best voice. Some people choose a masjid that has an imam who is a hafiz and finishes reciting 1 juz each night, so as to try to complete the 30 juz in the Taraweeh throughout the whole month. And then other people choose a masjid that finishes the Taraweeh quickly and does not recite 1 whole juz every night. So these are all choices. So what about us as individuals? And perhaps we are not hafiz, perhaps we have not memorized very much of the Quran other than Surah Al-Fatiha and maybe a few short surahs at the end of the Quran, for example. That's not a problem. We have to remember that what makes our salat valid, as long as firstly we recite Surah Al-Fatiha, the most important aspect, Surah Al-Fatiha. And then in each rak'ah after that, we recite whatever it is that we know from the Quran. Even if we are reciting Qul huwa Allahu ahad every second rak'ah, our salat would still be valid. Yeah. So it is not. So we do not need to worry about how much of the Quran we recite if we are in a position where suddenly we're not used to becoming an imam, but suddenly we have to be an imam in our homes with our families. This is still okay, and in fact, it is good, and it stresses the point that we need to revise ourselves and improve our pronunciation as best as we can, and try to increase our memorizing and the like. So increasing our interaction with the Quran by doing so. Now, for those who feel, yeah, but normally every year I like to go to the masjid that recites a whole juz every night in Taraweeh, and now I can only recite Qul huwa Allahu ahad every second raka'ah, for example. Well, we can make up for this by reciting the Quran outside of the time of Salah. Yeah? If we can't read the Quran yet, then we can listen to the Quran being recited. We can still interact with the Quran. We can listen to the Quran being recited outside of the time of Salah, either before or after, during the night or during the day. So we can still make up for not joining Taraweeh, which does 1 juz every night, but we can make up for it by reciting or listening to 1 juz each day or night to replace that. So inshallah, performing salah in jama'ah in our homes, inshallah, has positive aspects. And in fact, there are a number of positive aspects that perhaps some of our brothers and sisters might not have been aware of. So firstly, if we look at an example, and we go back to an example that is mentioned in the Holy Quran referring to Nabi Musa, Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded to Nabi Musa alayhi salam. We see in Surah Yunus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى وَأَخِيهِ أَن تَبَوَّآ لِقَوْمِكُمَا بِمِصْرَ بُيُوتًا وَاجْعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلَةً وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And we inspired to Moses and his brother, settle your people in Egypt, in houses, and make your houses facing the Qibla, and establish salah, establish prayer, and give good tidings to the believers. So my dear brothers and sisters, we see in this ayah how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Nabi Musa, Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, to settle his people in Egypt, وَجَعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ, and make your homes qiblatan, facing the Qibla. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ, and establish the Salah. So Nabi Musa alayhi salam was commanded to tell his people to establish salah, yeah, and to settle and to have their homes facing the Qibla. So this is related to doing ibadah, doing their worship, doing their salah from their homes. Yeah, mashallah. Yeah. So now that we are performing much of our salah, the majority of our salah in our homes, this is something that is not new. This is something that that has been around, that we know at least from this example, from the time of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, yeah, to perform prayers from our homes. But what about us? We are the followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are from the ummah. We are from the nation of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This example is about Nabi Musa alayhi salam and his followers. Well, we refer to the hadith, and we find that Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالصَّلَاةِ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ صَلَاةِ الْمَرْءِ فِي بَيْتِهِ إِلَّا الصَّلَاةَ الْمَكْتُوبَةَ. So perform your salah, perform your prayers in your homes. For a man's best prayer is the one which he offers at home. Now, it can be problematic if someone only quotes this part of the hadith. For the best prayer, the best salah of a man is the one that he does in his home. Then, of course, the brothers would not want to go to masjids anymore if they quote this part of the hadith. But we don't forget the end part of this hadith, إِلَّا الصَّلَاةَ الْمَكْتُوبَةَ, except for the congregational prayers, the 5 daily salawat. Because, of course, we should be making the effort to perform this in the masjids as often as we can. So what this is implying is we are encouraged to perform some of our prayers in our homes. Yeah, we are under normal circumstances. We are encouraged to perform prayers in our homes, perform salah in our homes. This is something that we are encouraged to do in this hadith, and this hadith in particular is mentioned in both Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. So, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالصَّلَاةِ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ. So we are highly encouraged to perform our salah in our homes under normal circumstances. And especially now, when many of us do not have any other choice than to perform salah in our homes, don't worry, we are in complete compliance with this hadith. So we are fulfilling the command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and therefore we are fulfilling the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And inshallah, during this special month, this blessed month of Ramadan, we are gaining the extra rewards of doing so, inshallah. Now we also learned that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ij'alū fī buyūtikum min salātikum, wa lā tattakhidūhā qubūrā." So perform some of your prayers in your homes. So this is in line with the previous hadith, but making it a bit more clear. Perform some of your salah in your homes, and do not make your homes like graveyards. Yeah. Do not take your homes as graves. What is a graveyard? We think about what is a graveyard. What is the situation of a graveyard? We know as Muslims, we are not allowed to perform salah in a graveyard. Yeah, that's one of the places that we do not perform salah. We do not pray in the graveyard. So a graveyard is a quiet place for some, and we see it in horror movies, because indeed for some people it is somewhat of a scary place. We think of it as being the place of the dead, the place of perhaps a place of shaitan, wallahu a'lam. So this is indeed a warning in this hadith that we are indeed encouraged to perform some of our salah in our homes, and not to make our homes like a graveyard, because in a graveyard there's no one performing salah. So this is not what we are supposed to be doing. We should be doing some of our salah in our homes. So again, strengthening the point that it is not an issue that we are now performing salah in our homes. We have a valid reason. Yeah. Those who are qualified have made their fatwas. Indeed, we make our salah in our homes. Masjids are closed in this current time. Yeah, inshallah, in Australia, where our situation is looking positive, and hopefully they'll be opening up very soon. But for the time being, by performing salah in our homes, and this is all of our salah, including tarawih, but also including our compulsory salah. And as if we have the time in our homes, we should be trying our best to perform any extra salah that we can do. And as we know, many of us know part of this hadith, the end part of this hadith, but not everyone knows the first part of this hadith. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La tamna'u nisa'akum al-masajid." Do not prevent your women from visiting the masjid. وَبُيُوتُهُنَّ خَيْرٌ لَهُنَّ. But their homes are better for them. But their homes are better for them. Yeah. So with this particular hadith, unfortunately, some people only know the end part of this hadith. And I recall when I had some visitors and they came to visit me one afternoon, and they had not prayed Asr when they left my house, and then they stopped off at a masjid on their way home because they realized they did not have enough time to get home before Maghrib. They went to a big masjid that has a big women's section, but when they went there, the women's section was locked, and they needed to pray Asr because they didn't have enough time to get home before the adhan of Maghrib. And then they found someone there from the community that ran the masjid, and then they asked that person, is it possible for someone to open the ladies section because my wife needs to pray? And then the response was simply, women should be praying at home. That was the response from this brother. Now, unfortunately, this brother is somewhat lacking in his understanding. He understood only the end part of this hadith, perhaps, or maybe he had not even learned this hadith at all. He maybe had only just heard a statement and acted on that. But that is indeed, I would have to say, a very unfortunate and perhaps in some case, in a way you could say an ignorant statement to make. Yeah, because in this hadith, we understand that women should not be prevented from attending the masjid. Alhamdulillah, as we know, in Indonesia, all the masjids that I've seen have very open ladies sections in the masjids, and of course anyone can come, male or female, and perform their prayers without a problem. But in some other cultures, in some other societies, in particular those who follow other madhabs, they often sometimes do not even have a ladies section in a masjid, which is unfortunate because this hadith is very clear. If a lady, if our wife, if our daughter, if our sister wants to go to the masjid, then we should not prevent them if there is no valid reason to do so. Now, under our current circumstances, of course, the masjids are closed, and yes, we are not able to attend the masjid, but for our sisters, the end part of this hadith does apply. By performing salah in your homes, this is what's best. So inshallah, you have more reward by praying at home. So for all of us, brothers and sisters, male and female, by performing our salah in our home, inshallah, we are complying with these three hadith that I've just mentioned. So we are still following the teachings of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The third way that we can try to seek Allah's pleasure during this holy month of Ramadan, the first way that we can try to reap the benefits, the blessings of this very special and blessed month of Ramadan, is by interacting with the Quran. And I say interacting with the Quran because interacting involves more than just reading. So yes, we are encouraged to read the Quran because the holy month of Ramadan is indeed the month of Quran. It is known as Shahrul Quran. It is clearly mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 185, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The month of Ramadan is that in which Allah revealed the Holy Quran. MashaAllah. So indeed, we are encouraged to interact with the Quran, especially to read the Holy Quran. If we are not yet able to read the Quran, we should make the effort to learn. For each letter that we learn, inshallah, we get reward. Yeah. So what is most important, remember, what is most important, none of us knows how long we will live for. With any goals that we set in life, what is most important is the effort we make to achieve them. Whether or not we actually do achieve them, that's not as important. But what is most important is the effort that we make. If our time comes and that we are no longer alive before prior to achieving the goal, then we will be judged on how we lived our life. So what effort did we make? Yeah. What effort did we make? So if we make the effort to try to learn the Quran as best as we can, learning how to read, learning how to recite, to make the sounds, the pronunciation, the rules of tajweed, and so on, then inshallah, this is a deed that is highly rewardable, inshallah. But not only reading, interacting with the Quran is learning and studying the Quran, understanding its teachings. listening to the recitation of Quran, listening to lectures, learning about the Quran, all of the ways that we can interact with the Holy Quran. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, remembering that many of us are restricted to our homes right now, and indeed we are highly encouraged to recite the Quran and interact with the Quran in our homes. As our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reportedly said, "La taj'alū buyūtakum maqābir, inna ash-shaytāna yanfiru min al-bayt alladhī tuqra'u fīhi sūratul Baqarah." Do not make your homes like graveyards. Indeed, shaitan runs away from the house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. So this hadith in Sahih Muslim confirms that the house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited, shaitan runs away from it. Now we are in the month of Ramadan, and we learn from numerous Sahih hadith that when the beginning of Ramadan, when Ramadan arrives, the shaitan are chained up. But so obviously this hadith is referring to normal circumstances, not in the month of Ramadan. But indeed, during this special month of Ramadan, the month of Quran, we are highly encouraged to recite Quran, and this hadith confirms that indeed we are encouraged to recite the Quran in our homes. And this is giving an example of just one particular surah, a very special surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah of the Quran, and the effect that it can have. So by reciting Quran in our homes, we are creating a pure atmosphere. We are creating a very special atmosphere, because by reciting Quran in our homes, we will make our homes with a very special Islamic atmosphere that is different to a home that no one recites Quran in. Because a home, as this hadith is implying, a home that no one recites the Quran in is like a graveyard. Is like a graveyard. And of course, we do not want our homes to be like a graveyard. Now, there's also another very well-known hadith, also mentioned in Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said that no group of people gather in a house from among the houses of Allah. Now, even though the wording is saying together, fi baytin min buyutillah, this hadith is referring to a masjid. This hadith is referring to a masjid, a house of Allah, a house of God, that is a place of worship, that is a masjid. But now that we are performing, for some of us, we are performing all of our salah in our homes, what are we doing? We are turning our homes into our own family masjids. Remember, what is the meaning of masjid? Masjid literally means a place for sujood. Sajjada yasjudu. Masjid, a place to do sujood, a place to prostrate in. That is the literal meaning of the word masjid. What is the name of a place to pray? A place to pray in Arabic, is musalla. Musalla means a place to pray in. Masjid means a place to do sujood in, a place for sujood. So right now, with the current situation due to the coronavirus, we are actually turning our homes into our own personal masjids and musallas. So musalla, a place that we perform our worship in. So inshallah, we might be able to assume that this hadith would also apply to our current situation now that our homes are like our masjids, because this hadith says, no group of people gather in one of the houses of Allah. يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَيَتَدَارَسُونَهُ بَيْنَهُمْ. They read tilawa, يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ. They read the book of Allah, وَيَتَدَارَسُونَهُ بَيْنَهُمْ. And they do tadarrus between each other. They learn and study and teach this book, meaning the Quran, amongst each other. So no group does this. إِلَّا نَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةِ. Except that sakina, tranquility, will descend upon them. وَغَشِيَتْهُمُ الرَّحْمَةِ. And mercy, rahmah, will engulf them. وَحَفَّتْهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. And the angels will surround them. وَذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ. And Allah will mention them to those in His proximity. MashaAllah. So inshallah, by reciting Quran and interacting with Quran and listening, and instead of having non-essential things on the TV or sounds being made in our homes, if we instead change it to the sound of Quran being recited, whether it's ourselves, our family members, or we listen to recordings, inshallah, this is creating a peaceful atmosphere, sakina, tranquility, and inshallah will be frequented by the malaika, inshallah ta'ala. So this is an ideal situation that of course we would love to have in our homes. The fourth aspect, my dear brothers and sisters, the fourth thing that we can do to help to attempt to try to reap the benefits of Ramadan from our homes, of course we perform iftar. Yeah, we perform iftar. Now, maybe under normal circumstances, we have very big gatherings. Now, for some people, when they think of Ramadan, this is what they think about. They think about the special, unique atmosphere of Ramadan, and this is the big community gatherings, the family gatherings where people are visiting each other, or going to the masjid to do iftar, or booking a restaurant for 10 families to go eat together, or in a community hall. There are many, many iftar gatherings throughout the month of Ramadan. But we have to remember, this is not what Ramadan is about. Yeah, this is not the essence of Ramadan. Ramadan is not about consuming, but Ramadan is about abstaining. Ramadan is about fasting. And that is why, of course, I had to mention fasting as number one in this talk, because that has the highest priority. But nevertheless, iftar is an important aspect of our fast. Yeah, it's very important. We learn from Sahih Hadith that the Prophet ﷺ reportedly said that there were two moments of joy. Yeah, farhatan. There are two moments of happiness and joy for the fasting person. First is that at the time of iftar, at the time of breaking the fast, and the second is the time when the fasting person meets his Lord on the Day of Judgment, because of the great reward awaiting them. So indeed, iftar is a special moment. It's a special time. It's a moment of enjoyment. After fasting the day, we have a sense of achievement. We have achieved the fast. We have completed this day, and then we break our fast. And for any meal, we learn in the sunnah, we learn about the adab of eating. We learn that it is indeed a sunnah. We are encouraged to eat with others. It is better to eat with others than to eat alone. So whether we are with our family, it is better to eat together as a family rather than everyone eating individually in different rooms of the home, for example. So iftar, doing iftar together with our family and those or whoever else is in our homes. Yeah, breaking our fast together is highly encouraged. Now, just a number of aspects regarding breaking the fast. Yeah, we understand that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reportedly said, "La yazalu an-nasu bi khayrin ma ajjalu al-fitr." That the people will remain on the right path as long as they hasten, as long as they break their fast at the beginning time of Maghrib. As long as they break the fast, they do not delay breaking the fast intentionally. So if we are able to break our fast, as soon as we know it is time for the Maghrib Azan, then we break our fast. Even if we do not have a full meal waiting for us, we just go and break our fast. Yeah. How do we break our fast? As Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu said regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would break the fast with fresh dates before performing salah. If there were no fresh dates, then he would break the fast with dried dates. And if there were no dried dates, then he would break the fast by simply taking a few sips of water. So this indeed, my brothers and sisters, is an example of, this is the sunnah of how to break our fast. Not to break our fast with a big full meal. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not permissible to do so, but it is not encouraged. It is not, the example of this, as mentioned here, is how the Prophet ﷺ would break his fast. And he would break his fast with just some dates, or if he did not have dates, just a few sips of water, and then perform salah, then pray Maghrib. After Maghrib, you can have your meal, the bigger meal. Because indeed, it is not healthy for us just to immediately have a big meal, and then by the time we get up to do our salah, it'll be very uncomfortable. Our food is not digested, and here we are doing bowing and prostrating and so on, and it's not a very comfortable situation. So it's not the best situation to be in. So by performing the sunnah, by adhering to the example of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if it is not compulsory acts, but this is following his example, following his sunnah, then there are greater rewards, inshallah. And indeed, we want to try to earn as many rewards as we can during this blessed month of Ramadan. And indeed, my dear brothers and sisters, inshallah, everyone in attendance here has been able to attend this online talk at this time. So that means you have performed Salatul Fajr or Salatul Subuh on time. So I would assume that you've made the effort to have sahur beforehand also. And this is indeed highly encouraged, as we know the beloved Prophet Muhammad said, "Tasahharu, fa-inna fi sahuri barakah." Have sahur, for indeed in sahur there is barakah, there is blessing. So of course, to have sahur, there is blessings in this. So this is not saying it is compulsory to have sahur. Yeah, sometimes someone might have a big meal at night and then they are too full still to have a meal before the azan of Fajr. But if they do not have sahur, then they are missing out on the blessings. Yeah. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said that sahur is a meal that is blessed. So don't leave it, even if one of you only has a gulp of water, because indeed Allah and His angels send blessings upon those who have sahur. So indeed, again, this hadith confirming the Sahih hadith before it, that sahur is indeed blessed. And we are highly encouraged to have sahur, even if it is only a few sips of water. Yeah, mashallah. And of course, sahur should be close to the end time. Close to the end time, meaning close to the time of adhan as the azan for Subuh or Fajr. And as we learn in this hadith in Sahih Muslim, and also similar wording in Sahih Bukhari, that Anas narrated that Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhuma said that we had sahur with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We then stood up for salah. And I said, so Anas said that, how much time was there between the two, between having sahur and performing salah? And he responded and said, it was the time of it that it took to recite 50 ayat, yeah, 50 ayat, 50 ayat. So this we can see is why if we refer to some calendars, that some calendars have a separate section called imsak, yeah. Now some calendars have an imsak section on the calendar, which is usually about 10 minutes before the time of adhan for Subuh. So this is a recommended time for us to stop eating and drinking, and this is one of the hadith, and it's similar in both Sahih Bukhari and in Sahih Muslim, confirming this. So roughly the time it takes to recite 50 ayat. So some scholars have suggested, in now that we count minutes, maybe about approximately 10 minutes before the time of adhan is a good time to stop our eating and drinking. Yeah. But indeed, we are encouraged to firstly do not delay breaking our fast at Maghrib, and also to have sahur close to the end time, close to the time of the adhan for Fajr. So by doing so, we are not extending the time of fasting more than it's supposed to be. Encouraged to extend the fasting time any longer than it should be. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, among the ways that we can try to seek Allah's blessings, to seek Allah's pleasure during this blessed month of Ramadan, and to seek and to reap all of the benefits, all of the barakah in this month of Ramadan, inshallah, one of the ways that we can do so is by making dhikr. Yeah, this is Indonesian spelling, zikr, yeah, dhal, dhikr. So dhikr, by making dhikr in our homes. Yeah, of course, at all times, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed in Surah Al-Ahzab, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. O you who have iman, O you who believe, remember Allah with much remembrance, with much dhikr. So make dhikr as often as possible. Now this is general. Remember Allah as often as possible. But indeed in our homes, we are encouraged to make dhikr. Now we make dhikr, we remember Allah in many ways. We remember Allah in our hearts. We remember Allah verbally with our tongues. And we learn from many hadith all the phrases that we are encouraged to recite for dhikr. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim. There are many words of dhikr that we are encouraged to utter with our tongues. We remember Allah during our salah. Now, if anyone makes salah and they don't remember Allah, there's something wrong, seriously wrong with your salah, because salah is about worshipping Allah. That's what salah is. Our ritual worship, physically and spiritually worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we do not remember Allah, if our mind is elsewhere completely, something is wrong with our salah. We must be remembering Allah during salah. And of course, there are words of dhikr, as is mentioned in the hadith of how the Prophet ﷺ would make dhikr after each salah. By reciting Quran, we should be remembering Allah. One of the names of the Quran is al-dhikr. Yeah? From learning Islam, joining Islamic discussions, listening to Islamic lectures, inshallah, we remember Allah. If we do not remember Allah and we're learning about Islam, something's not quite right. Yeah? Because everything about Islam is based on our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Making dua, just like in salah, we are worshipping Allah, we are asking Allah. If we do not remember Allah, something is wrong with our dua. And of course, in the sunnah, we learn many examples where we are encouraged to recite words of dhikr in the mornings and evenings of each day. Yeah? So these are some examples of dhikr and how we are encouraged to make dhikr as often as possible at all times, but especially now in our homes. We learn about making dhikr in our homes, that the Prophet ﷺ has highly encouraged this, as Abu Musa radiallahu anhu narrated that Rasulullah ﷺ said, مَثَلُ الْبَيْتِ الَّذِي يُذْكَرُ اللَّهُ فِيهِ وَالْبَيْتِ الَّذِي لَا يُذْكَرُ اللَّهُ فِيهِ مَثَلُ الْحَيِّ وَالْمَيِّتِ. The house in which dhikr of Allah is made and the house in which no one makes dhikr of Allah is like the living and the dead. So the difference between a house where someone makes dhikr in and a house where no one makes dhikr in is like the living and the dead. Now we're seeing a general theme here. There are other hadiths saying, do not make your homes like a graveyard, because the home where no one does salah in is like a graveyard. Another hadith said that the home where no one, in this hadith, no one makes remembrance of Allah. If no one makes dhikr of Allah in the home, then this is like the place of the dead. In other words, you could say the place of the dead is also like a graveyard. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, indeed, we are encouraged to make dhikr in the home. So especially now that many of us have more time at home, and it is the month of Ramadan, where inshallah we get greater reward for the good deeds that we do, then we are highly encouraged to make dhikr in our homes, inshallah ta'ala. And sixth, and this inshallah is my last point that I wanted to mention, that among the many ways that we can try to seek Allah's pleasure from our home is to learn and understand adab, but that's not enough. That's the first step. But then to implement adab, because adab is about amal. Adab is about action. Adab is about implementing, not just knowing and understanding without implementing. Yeah. As we learn that Abdullah ibn Mubarak reportedly said, طَلَبْتُ الْأَدَبَ 30 سَنَةً, that I learned about adab, I studied adab for 30 years. ثُمَّ طَلَبْتُ الْعِلْمَ 20 سَنَةً, and then I learned knowledge, I learned ilm, I became a seeker of knowledge for 20 years. So he said that he studied about adab for 30 years and then about ilm, about knowledge, for 20 years. And he said that his predecessors studied adab first and then ilm. So before knowledge is adab, based on this statement by Abdullah ibn Mubarak. Now there's another proverb. There's a proverb in Arabic, a wise word, a wise saying that says, Al-ilmu bila amalin kashajari bila thamarin. That knowledge without action, yeah, ilm without amal, yeah, knowledge without action is like a tree that bears no fruit. A tree that bears no fruit. Now, for a farmer who has an orchard, a fruit orchard, fruit trees, apple trees, orange trees, maybe he has 10 trees, and one of these trees did not bear any fruit. So for the farmer, that tree is of no use to him, because he needs to harvest the fruit. So in that situation, that tree has no use to him. Just like a person who knows about adab, a person who has knowledge, who has ilm, but does not act on it, does not fulfill it, does not implement it, is worth nothing. It's useless. About simply knowing, having knowledge, but not implementing what this person knows. So similarly, especially about Islam. Now about adab. So adab is indeed very important. So there are a number of aspects that we need to understand, basic aspects about adab in the home. Yeah. Now it's important that I mention this because not every Muslim knows some of the basic adab. How many times have I've been to many different gatherings, And I see Muslims eating and drinking while standing and drinking with their left hand. MashaAllah, this is not in accordance with the Sunnah, by following the adab as the example was set by our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and we learn these teachings in the hadith. So when we see Muslims who are eating and drinking with their left hand, for example, then this shows that that person does not understand or perhaps has not learned about adab. So adab is indeed a very important topic. So just some basic aspects about adab. And inshallah, I believe that most of our brothers and sisters tuning in today are familiar with these. But nevertheless, I just want to touch on a couple of points about adab in the home. We learn in this hadith from Rib'i ibn Hirash, radiallahu anhu, narrated that a man from Banu Amir tribe has told us that he had asked the Prophet ﷺ for permission to enter his home. He came to the home and he said, "May I enter?" May I enter? So you could say that he was quite polite. He sought permission. He did not just barge into someone's home. He did not just barge into the home of the Prophet ﷺ, but he came and said, may I enter? But then the Prophet ﷺ said to his servant, "Go out and instruct this person about the manner, about the adab, about the manner of seeking permission. Tell him to say, Assalamu alaikum, and then say, may I come in?" And so the man heard this and he said, Assalamu alaikum, may I enter? And the Prophet ﷺ then gave this man permission to enter the home. So indeed, this is among the adab. Of course, we should say, Assalamu alaikum when we enter the home, whether it's someone else's home or our own home. Now, alhamdulillah, from my experience, I've seen in Indonesia, for example, I see that this is common. And I think many people implement this without thinking about it. And this has become cultural, you could say, because everywhere that I've been, in any Muslim home, they say Assalamu alaikum. Even non-Muslims, when they visit a Muslim home, in a village, for example, they know that that is the cultural norm. And sometimes non-Muslims would still say Assalamu alaikum. But what is unfortunate is when people do not say the salam correctly. This is an important matter. It's more important than what people might think. Unfortunately, and I see this in Indonesia very common too, so hopefully in Australia, we can try to improve our situation. Unfortunately, some people come and they say, Alaikum, Alaikum. Like, do you even know what you're saying? Alaikum, you're mumbling something. Alaikum, you don't even know what you're saying. Try to make the effort to say the salam properly. As-salam, one of the names of Allah, as-salam. Assalamu alaikum, may peace be upon you. We learn from other hadith that there were some Jews that came to the Prophet ﷺ and they tested him. They came to mock him. And they came and said, Assalamu alaikum. Now, even this sounds a little bit clearer than what some Muslims say today when they say, alaikum. Some Jews came to the Prophet and said, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Now, Aisha radiallahu anha was with her husband, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she heard what these Jews said to him. They said, Assalamu alaikum. And she became angry because she understood exactly what they said. Assalamu alaikum. It was a derogatory, it was a negative. It's like saying, may you perish. That type of wording. It was a very bad thing to say. Rather than may peace be upon you, it's like may you perish type of wording. That type of meaning. And so Aisha radiallahu anha became angry, and the Prophet responded to them, and he said, "Wa alaikum." So he did not say "Wa alaikum salam," but he said to them "Wa alaikum," because they did not say salam, they said sam, assalamu alaikum, and the Prophet responded "Wa alaikum," which simply means, and the same back to you, "Wa alaikum," and upon you too. So when Aisha was angry and she said to her husband, the Prophet ﷺ, "Did you not hear what they said to you?" And the Prophet ﷺ replied to his wife, Aisha radiallahu anha, and said, did you not hear what I responded to them? So the Prophet responded with the best example of manners and akhlaq and adab. He responded very cleverly. He did respond. He did not just ignore them, but he responded with simply wa alaykum. So that whatever you said to me, the same back to you, without actually uttering negative words himself. Yeah, mashallah. So we need to understand as Muslims that we need to implement this properly by saying the salam as best as we can with meaning, because if we say it correctly with meaning, then this is a dua that we are saying to the people we are saying it to. And when they respond to us, they are saying back this dua, may peace be upon you. Another matter, important matter about adab of even just entering the home is to mention the name of Allah, as Jabir radiallahu anh narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said, if a person mentions the name of Allah when entering his house or when eating, then shaitan says to his followers, to the other shayateen, you will find nowhere to spend the night and no dinner. But if a person enters his home and does not mention the name of Allah when entering, then shaitan says to his followers, he didn't mention the name of Allah. You've got a place to spend the night in. You can come into this home tonight. This man did not enter. This man entered without saying the name of Allah. And if the person does not mention the name of Allah at the time of eating, then shaitan says, you found a place to spend the night in as well as food. So in other words, you've just invited shaitan to come and have a party in your home, the shayateen to be partying in your home, if you enter your home without mentioning the name of Allah, and if you eat your food without mentioning the name of Allah. So we need to mention the name of Allah. So firstly, Assalamu alaikum when entering. And the very minimum, we could say Bismillah before eating, or Bismillah when entering the home. This is a minimum that we are encouraged to say, so that we are not giving permission for shaitan to come into our homes, because we do not want shaitan among us in our homes. We would rather have our homes with a nice, peaceful atmosphere with the angels among us, inshallah. So we learn from hadith that there is examples of dua, for example, to enter the home. In this particular hadith, mentioned by both Abu Dawood and At-Tabrani, the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, Allahumma inni as'aluka khayra al-mawlij wa khayra al-makhraj, bismillahi walajna wa bismillahi kharajna wa ala rabbina tawakkalna. Oh Allah, I ask you for good both when entering and when going out. In the name of Allah we have entered, and in the name of Allah we have gone out, and in Allah our Lord do we trust. Yeah. So whether we say this complete dua or part of the dua, beginning with Bismillah, or even just saying Bismillah only, this inshallah is fulfilling the sunnah and correct adab of entering the home. And many of us might be more familiar with the dua when leaving the home. Bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allahi wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. In the name of Allah, I place my trust in Allah, and there is no might nor power except with Allah. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, among the many ways, there are many ways that we can try to seek Allah's pleasure from the home. We can try to reap the benefits, reap the blessings of this blessed month of Ramadan from our homes. And in this talk, I've touched on just some of these ways that we can try to do them. Firstly and foremostly is fasting, as our foremost command in this month of Ramadan. By performing salah in our homes, including the Taraweeh prayers in our homes and any extra sunnah salah that we can do during Ramadan in particular in our homes, is highly encouraged. Reading the Quran, Ramadan is Shahrul Quran, and I've touched on some of the hadith reports encouraging us to read the Quran in our homes. By breaking fast together and following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, if we have not been putting it into practice, then now that when we are at home, we can try to do this by not having a big meal immediately, by just breaking our fast with some dates or some sips of water, perform Maghrib, and then have our meal after. Inshallah, we are gaining greater rewards by fulfilling the sunnah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Performing dhikr in the home, we've touched on some of the hadith reports reminding us of the benefits of performing dhikr in the home, and by implementing the adab, learning about adab. There's many aspects about adab, but these are just some aspects about adab in the home that I've touched on, and of course there are many more. Inshallah, if we fulfill some of these things, then we will be able to gain rewards from Allah and the blessings of Ramadan in this blessed month of Ramadan this year, inshallah ta'ala. I apologize for any shortcomings on my behalf. The truth is from Allah and His Messenger. أقول قولي هذا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Jazakallah, Ustadz Ali Abdullah, for the talk. It's very useful. It's very informative, and to remind us as well, even though that we are staying at home, there are a lot of like benefits that we can reap off from, from this blessed month of Ramadan, and it shouldn't be like the thing that's stopping us, to do our ordinary, like normal ibadah in the month of Ramadan. And even we can also make the most of this situation by performing more ibadah. And as what you mentioned, just to conclude, or like in summary, like we obviously fasting, and we can do salat and even perform more sunnah prayer at home because we have more flexibility. And then we also can read the Quran. And again, we have like a flexibility to read the Quran in our home compared to, say, like if you have to go to the work. And then breaking the fast together, like we can also break the fast together with our families, right? And do the zikr. And then also another thing that important is about the adab. Okay, alhamdulillah, Ustadz, we have 3 questions already lining up, asked by the brothers and sisters. So we'll open up the first session, and we'll see how the time travels. We'll try to answer the first 3 questions, and if time permits, we can have probably another 1 or 2. All right. So the first question is, Ustadz, Assalamu alaikum, Ustadz. As we know that reading the Quran more and much more in the holy Ramadan is better than attending the class. Okay. But now in the COVID era, so many online programs are offered no matter morning or daytime or even afternoon and night time. So we may miss some good time to read the Quran by attending all the online programs. So what do we do in that circumstances?
Okay. Yeah, mashallah. During our current situation, this is certainly unprecedented times, but at the same time, there are many benefits that we are finding, and indeed, there are many online talks, online lectures that we can attend directly and still participate from our own home. So with this modern technology, it's become more and more easy for us to learn more about Islam, and then there are so many activities that before it was all online, perhaps it was more difficult because we would physically have to travel from one place to another. But now everything's online. It's so easy. We don't have to go anywhere. And yes, there are very busy schedules. So very good question. So between reading Quran in the month of Quran, in Ramadan, which we know has always been highly encouraged to do, especially in the month of Ramadan, or attending lectures. By attending lectures, Islamic lectures, learning about Islam, increasing our understanding of Islam, then of course we are still learning Quran. We are learning the teachings of the Quran in Islamic lectures. So it's still related to Quran in a sense. So what do we do? How do we make the balance? Yes, we need to try to make a balance, try to set a schedule. We can try to see, okay, there's so many different lectures for, especially on the weekends. So for example, today being Saturday, we can see, gee, there's so much on. So we should try to plan ourselves. We need to plan, okay, I want to plan to be able to recite for Quran for at least an hour or more or less, or half an hour in the morning, half an hour midday, half an hour afternoon, or something like this. We need to try to make a schedule, try to plan what we want to do, and see which lectures are on that we want to attend. Now, another aspect that can help us as well is most of these lectures are also going to be recorded. So we do not always have to attend all of them online directly. We could watch the recordings in our own time, as many of them are available on YouTube. So we need to also find out if these lectures are going to be live only, or if they are going to be uploaded onto YouTube and remain on YouTube so that we can watch them at a later time. So if this is the case, if we know that, okay, or this organization such as CIDE New South Wales usually keeps the lectures on YouTube. So in most cases, you can watch online as well. So we can look, and if need be, we can choose so that we do not miss out on the benefits of reciting Quran. Because of course, we only have 24 hours in a day. We still have other things we have to do. We have other work and jobs and other things that we need to do in our homes, and everyone has a different life schedule. But try to make a balance. Try to allow time in your own schedule to recite Quran. If need be, you can watch a recording of a lecture rather than participating live. As long as we can try to make the balance, inshallah. It's all good, but just try to make the balance, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, Ustadz. All right, so moving on to the second questions. Assalamu alaikum, Ustadz. So in relation with the iftar, okay, so we have 3 alarm at home. Okay, when we break fast, each alarm goes of different time. Okay, can we break the fast follows the earliest one or the last one? Which one is better? Or even like when we listen to the radio, sometimes they have like a couple of minutes delay or even like early. So which one's better? Is that?
Yes. So what we have to understand is that these timetables, and there's a few different timetables. So all of our apps on our smartphones, our adhan apps, they're all based on calculations. They are estimates. They're very good estimates, informing us the beginning time, the time for the adhan of each salah. Now, under normal circumstances, if we want to be safe, we can perform our salah maybe just a few minutes after, to be safe. Now that it's the time of Ramadan, and we know that we are encouraged, as I've quoted the hadith, that we are encouraged to hasten the breaking of our fast, to not delay the breaking of our fast, then this is where it comes more, we need more precision. And yes, we are trying to be more precise in breaking our fast on time. But yes, we need to be cautious. So we need to make the effort to, okay, which one are we going to follow? And don't mix and match. You know, if we decide to follow one, just stick to that one. Don't mix and match and say, okay, I'm going to follow the one that says Adhan Maghrib first, and then I'm going to follow the one that says the Fajr or Subuh Azan last, which is deep. And if that's a different app, then we're mixing and matching. It's like mixing and matching the madhabs just to find the easiest solution without understanding any of the reasons why, just looking for the easy solution out. And this is not encouraged. So if we stick to choose one and stick to one is my recommendation for the best suggestion, remembering that that they are based on calculations, they are estimates. So look at what is most likely the most correct time between them. If there are, say, 3 different or 4 different apps and 3 of them are going off at the same time, that's probably the safer one to go with. Or to stick with the one that your local masjid will be following. You know, stick with the timetable that your local masjid may have provided. That would probably be my suggestion to try to follow. Yeah, Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, so close that, and then the last questions is asked by Brother Aji. Assalamualaikum, Ustadz Ali. From the surah that you mentioned, when Allah commanded Musa alayhi salam to build house facing Qiblah. Okay, the question says, had the Qiblah been decided, as we know, towards Kaabah at the time, or the Qiblah was faced somewhere else? As far as I know, the Qiblah was faced towards Kaabah during the time of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah, so as we know, as anyone who has performed Umrah or Hajj would most likely have visited Masjid Qiblatain. As a part of the sightseeing tour, so not part of the Hajj or Umrah ritual, but there is a masjid known as Masjid Qiblatain, and that because we know that when our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the early Muslims were commanded to do Salah, the original Qibla was to Jerusalem, to Bayt al-Maqdis. And then when the Prophet ﷺ was praying in what is now called Masjid Qiblatain, the command to change the Qibla to stop facing Jerusalem and start facing the Kaaba in Mecca was revealed when the Prophet ﷺ was performing Salah in that masjid. And hence that masjid is known today as Masjid Qiblatain, because that is the masjid where the Prophet ﷺ changed direction from facing Jerusalem to facing Mecca. Now, regarding Nabi Musa alayhi salam, what was the Qibla at that time? I would have to say, from my level of understanding, wallahu alam, I have not done enough study into that detail. I would assume most likely, perhaps they were commanded to face Jerusalem, but I cannot confirm that. Yeah, wallahu alam is-sawab.
Okay, Jazakallah, Ustadz. So we still got, I think we'll just limit until 7 o'clock. Are you still okay just to take one question if there's anyone want to ask? Inshallah. Okay, so we'll give last chance for brothers and sisters. If you have any questions, you can ask directly by raising your hand, or just drop the questions in the group chat. Jadi Bapak Ibu silakan, ada yang ingin bertanya lagi sebelum kita akhiri acara kajian subuh pada pagi hari ini. Give a couple of seconds to start. Okay, let me just scroll through. I think we're all good, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Right, so Alhamdulillah, we've come to the ends of our sessions for this morning. Jazakumullah khairan, Ustadz, and also to all brothers and sisters, respected elders as well, for joining us in this morning talk with Ustadz Ali Abdullah. Before we close off, I'd just like to give more information about the activities that we'll have under the CIDE Ramadan program. So at 12:30, we have an Islamic quiz competition. So I'd like to encourage anyone who has children and ask their children to participate. So we will use the Kahoot application. So registration is still open until 9 o'clock this morning. So anyone has children or like has grandchildren in the year of 3 to 4, at school, year 3 and 4 at school, year 5 and 6 at school, and year 7 to 9 at school, please encourage your children, or grandchildren, to participate. The quiz will start at 12:30, and also for the English talk, for the non-Indonesian or like more comfortable in English, inshallah at 3:30 p.m. until 5 p.m. We'll have Tahsin and Tadarus online. So with Ustadz Khairul Anam. All right, so it's 3:30 p.m. until 5 p.m. In the afternoon. And then last talk that will be delivered in English for our youth and also non-Indonesian speaking. So it will be at 6:15 p.m. until 7 p.m. With our Ustadz Muhammad Isan Tanjung. And then the topic will be the emergence of Dajjal. But by all means, anyone can join us, but the talk will be delivered in English. Jadi Bapak Ibu, itu program dalam bahasa Inggris. Dan untuk program yang dalam bahasa Indonesianya, insya Allah nanti malam kita akan kedatangan 2 tamu spesial, Masya Allah, dalam rangka untuk menyambut Nuzul Quran yang insya Allah nanti malam adalah malam ke-17. Jadi nanti malam kajian kita akan diisi oleh 2 tamu istimewa spesial, yaitu Syekh Ali Jaber dan juga Ustadz kita, Ustadz Dr. Aib Saifullah MA. Insya Allah kita akan mulai lebih awal 15 menit, jam 7 malam sampai jam 8.30 malam. Slot pertama kajian akan diisi oleh Syekh Ali Jaber dan akan dilanjutkan oleh Ustadz Dr. Aib Saifullah MA. Jadi kami minta kepada jamaah untuk ikut menyebarkan informasi ini dan juga tetap bergabung bersama kami melalui program-program yang telah disebutkan di atas. So brothers and sisters, again, jazakumullah khairan for your participation. And before we end today's session, if you don't mind, Ustadz, I'd like to ask for you to lead the dua for this morning, inshallah, for the benefit of all us.
Astaghfirullah. Na'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك اللهم إنا نسألك السلامة في الدين وعافية في الجسد وزيادة في العلم وبركة في الرزق وتوبة قبل الموت ورحمة عند الموت ومغفرة بعد الموت اللهم هون علينا في سكرات الموت والنجاة من النار والعفو عند الحساب ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا هب لنا من الصالحين ربنا هب لنا من لدنك ذرية طيبة إنك سميع الدعاء اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا يا الله يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Again, thank you very much everyone for joining and your participation. May Allah give His bless and protection to all of us. And then we can go through this hardship time. Okay, let's close off our session this morning with the doa kafaratul majlis. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. And last thing, I forgot. So there'll also a talk show tomorrow, brothers and sisters, which is in Indonesian. Jadi Bapak Ibu besok ada talk show lagi untuk melanjutkan acara yang telah dilakukan minggu lalu, yaitu Ustadz menjawab jamaah bertanya. Bagi yang mempunyai pertanyaan, bisa disampaikan langsung melalui email ke info@cide.org.au. Dan satu lagi ada kajian spesial juga besok malam. Insya Allah kita akan kedatangan tamu istimewa dari Indonesia. Insya Allah kita akan kedatangan Ustadz Haikal Hasan yang alhamdulillah telah meluangkan waktunya untuk bergabung bersama kami besok malam jam 7 malam sampai jam 8.30 malam. So that's all for me, and my apologies for all my shortcomings. And then let's close off. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.